Hey everybody, I thought we'd do something fun for a change. We're normally a little serious and kind of negative on the channel, and so I thought we'll do something completely different, completely frivolous, and just have a little bit of fun here. So I did the stream the other day for the worst balls of the year, trying to find bad balls, and we found a lot of ugly ones too. And so I thought, well, this is something that I've done before. I played around, I put stuff in a photo editor, and thought, oh well, man, if this ball was just these colors, it'd be really cool. And so I thought, well, let's take the ugliest balls of the year and kind of reimagine them and see what we come up with. And so, without further ado, I've already done this once, and you guys are going to find out really quick why I write stuff down. But we're going to hop into it faster. So anyway, we're going to start with motive. And motive doesn't really have anything ugly, I don't think, but they have a few that I think could look better. Maybe the jackal ghost and the primal ghost are a little bland, but they're also a little difficult to put into a photo editor and get anything out of. So I settle on the Max Thrill Solid, and again, it's not ugly. It some people it's not some people's cup of tea, and it shares that kind of teal color with the hybrid. And so I thought, let's make something that's still in the same spirit, but that is completely different from both the pearl and the hybrid. And this is what I ended up with. I think this fits really well. I think this looks really good. It's got kind of a almost a watermelon, kind of like a bright watermelon, almost evoke kind of kind of colors, minus the extra one. But I think this looks really cool, and this would go well with the other ones. We're gonna move over to the brands of Brunswick, and Brunswick I don't think really has anything ugly either. But they've, for some reason, B7 has this obsession with purple and orange. It's just everywhere, a lot of the time on the same ball. And so it depends on, if you like the color purple, this ball looks really sweet. But it's kind of boring, I guess. So I wanted to just jazz this one up a little bit and do something different for the go a different direction here. And this is what I came up with. I really like the way that different logo color pops on there. The lime green really works, and none of the brands have anything that looks like this. And so it's kind of just, I like the twist on it. I think it looks really cool. And I'm thinking of, I used to sit in a shop all the time and just stare at stuff on the wall. And there was a lot of stuff where it's kind of like, some of these later that we get into, I'm like, really, you guys thought that was going to look good sitting on a wall in a pro shop, really? And so that's kind of the angle I'm working this from. But I really do like the look of this one. Moving on. Again, here's more. This is pink and orange instead of purple and orange, but same type of deal. And it's not necessarily ugly. It just, I don't know. There's nothing really terribly special about it to me. And I don't really think that the Entity Pearl is kind of bland and boring, but I played around with it a little bit, but it's okay, because it's all the colors kind of go a similar direction. It's not like crazy bright and obnoxious and whatever else, and so it looks okay. This one, I completely went a different direction, and this is going to be a recurring theme, but I like colder temperature colors. So I like blues and purples and pinks and greens and whatever else. I'm not the biggest fan of, despite just looking at a couple of brighter colorways. I'm not the biggest fan of like reds and oranges and yellows and stuff like that. Like I kind of like this direction a little bit better. Track, I don't think, has an ugly ball either. This one, I'm okay with gold. I'll say this later because we have another one that uh, this gold is a little bright and yellowy for me, and I do like the teal, the greenish teal, whatever we got going on here. But I just thought this one, of all the trackballs look really sexy. But I thought this one could look better, and it could bridge the gap between the criterion and the inverse a little bit closer, or kind of look a little bit more similar, kind of keep the same train of thought going, so to speak. And so this is my alternate for that. So it kind of takes a little bit of the one of the tones of the blue in the original criterion, and kind of gets close to the green that's in the inverse. And on some of these, I'm sure you're going to say, it's like, wow, you think that ball looks better than the original? it's all a personal preference thing, and that's something I get into the comment section and tell me what you think, or what balls you think look best, or what balls you think are the ugliest in certain lineups. And I guess that's the one thing that I forgot to add earlier. This is why I write scripts and write things down. I'm doing one ball from every company, so I'm not just, if I was picking all the ugly balls on the market, I'd spend half of this thing on Radical, but we're doing one per brand. Now Hammer, I started looking at Hammer, and I picked the Arctic Vibe not because it looks bad, but there's some other ones that I think could look better. But with black and orange being Hammer colors, it was hard for me to ding stuff like the 3.0, the Black Widow 3.0, or the Anger, or the Zero Mercy Pearl, or whatever else. It's like, well, those are kind of Hammer colors. I picked on this one because when I think art, this is the Arctic Vibe. When I think Arctic, I don't think purple. And so I went with something that reminded me more of, when I think Arctic, I think snow and water and ice and all kinds of stuff like that. And so I just nudged it in the right direction. I like the logo color. I think that really pops, so I kind of kept that. But this makes me think more Arctic. So this is what I went with on this one. The second most, the second ugliest ball on the market right now, the Guru Oracle. This is one that's almost like borderline offensive to me, and it's like I just can't believe that they get done putting this ball together and think, oh yeah, that's something that people are going to walk in a pro shop and they're going to look at this ball and think, oh God, I have to have that ball, or they're going to be scrolling around online and look at this and say, man, that's something I need. And so I went completely different, and I think that this is one of my favorite changes. So this is what I came up with, and I think this looks freaking amazing, especially from where we were at. We go from that, which pea green and the orange logo and whatever else, and then you look at this, and it just, man, this one just works. It just does. It doesn't really look like a Radical ball, but maybe that's a good thing. Snapshot. So yeah, this is probably my favorite one of all of them. Moving on, Columbia has this one looks pretty good. This is probably the best looking original or starting place for any of the ball on this list. And you can look at Columbia and think, God, I can pick like 3 or 4 that are uglier than that. But you take something like the Super CUDA, and it's like, I can't change the colors on that because that's vintage kind of CUDA look. So I start playing around with that, and which I did. I started playing around with that, and I'm like, I just can't change it because then it's not a CUDA. Or then you look at something like the Ricochet Return, and it's like, well, that's not quite my cup of tea either, but it's kind of cool looking. Now this one is one of my least favorite adjustments here, just because this fits the theme, I think, a little bit better than what I went with. But I think that this looks better, and it's a really unique look. It's a 3-color ball, but it actually looks 4 colors here. You've got the light kind of baby blue, and then you've got the darker blue, and then you've got the magenta, and you've got the white and whatever else. And then the kind of mint logo, I think, really makes it work. But this is one of those where if you say, yeah, I think the original looks better, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you. This one's more my color palette than the original is. But it doesn't really quite fit the theme, and these are not exactly Columbia colors either, so to speak. Here's another one of those orange and purple balls that they have a million different iterations of. And so it's not, again, I don't think Deviate really has anything ugly in the current catalog either, but it's just, I'm over the orange and purple thing. So Brunswick, if you're watching, you mix it up a little bit here, help me out. And this one is my change here is both good and bad, I would say. So I'm just going to put it up and talk about it. This one looks very heavily edited. It's like, wow, okay, so that doesn't really look like a real ball. But if you remember, Deviate used to really get into the kind of the blacklight thing. They had everything. If you took Deviate balls out to Cosmic Bowling, they all kind of, glow in the dark type of balls, basically. And this kind of reminded me of that. And so I was okay with it. This doesn't look like, this looks like a ball under a black light, or under the cosmic lights or whatever. And so that's why I thought it kind of worked. This isn't something I don't think that you can really, I don't think you can really, you probably could produce this. It looks a little, again, a little too heavily edited, but I think it works specifically because of the whole Deviate glow in the dark thing. Now, this is one for going over to SPI now for 900 global. I really, really like everything about this ball, but I think it's more of a mental appreciation than actually liking it. It's a very different looking ball from anything else on the market. It's very unique looking. The name is very different. The reaction is something that Storm hasn't had in the SPI brands haven't had the lineup in a long time. And so I just like everything about this ball on paper. I really need to get myself one. But when I think Cove, you do think sand and rocks and surf and caves and, water and whatever else. But that's not like this. I guess this is kind of a sandy brownish yellow, but then the kind of green and whatever else. So I didn't really change it so much as I just tweaked it. And so this reminds me, I really just kind of made the temperature cooler. And so this, it still reminds you of sand, but it's a little more silvery, and then it's kind of it's more bluish. This this makes me think more of a beach and water and whatever else than this does. And so it's like, I like this until I see this, and I like this so much better. And then I go back to this and I'm like, yeah, I actually really don't like that much after all. Storm doesn't really have anything that ugly either. But this one, not pointing any fingers, could have been done better. I'm not the biggest fan of the gold. Is okay because the depth charge going way back was one of my favorite looks, and it was gold and silver, but it worked. This is kind of like a yellowy, orangey gold and silver, and I don't know it's kind of a blurple, kind of like blue purple, and then the logo looks kind of like 80s ish. And so I don't know. I played around with this one for a little bit, but just thinking Equinox for whatever reason made me think Earth, planet, whatever. And so this is what I ended up with here. And I'm not sure it looks like the land and the water and whatever else. And this is another one of those where, depending on what you like as far as colors go, I'm not a huge fan of either one of them. I like this a little bit better than this, but this, this still makes for a kind of a weird looking bowling ball. So this is another one that if you disagreed with me here, and again, feel free to play around with stuff yourself. If you find a free photo editing site online, you can upload something and then move all kinds of slider bars and whatever to kind of play with the colors yourself. But I think this looks better. Still don't think it looks that great. Moving on. Rotogrip, I don't think has a bad looking ball at all. Now, some people have said the Hustle Earth and the Hustle Glow. It's like, well, we don't like those. But those are kind of themed balls. You really can't change those. As soon as you change the Hustle Earth, well, it's not the Hustle Earth anymore because it's Earth colors, or the glow. It's supposed to be bright and obnoxious because it's the glow. Or it'd be like if you tried to change the Hustle Camo. Well, if you change the Hustle Camo, it wouldn't be the Hustle Camo anymore, so we can't do that. Everything else looks pretty sweet. The S2 I like the look of, but it just kind of looks like a bland, more washed out version of the original. So to give it a little bit of separation, to make it pop a little bit more, this is what I went. This is what I ended up with there. And you could, again, depending on what your color preferences are, you might say, I don't know. This is another one of those where it's like, they both look good. I think I prefer this to this, but I don't think this looks bad by any means. I'm not a fan of the kind of goldish logo color. I think that this looks a little bit better, but feel free to disagree. And we save the worst for last. I think this is the ugliest ball on the market, bar none. Sorry, swag. It's the Judge Pearl. Now, this ball looks significantly better in person than it does here. And I think that's true of a few of these actually, where it's like, yeah, the stock photo or the render just doesn't really do it justice. And this one does look a lot better in person, but it's still it's not my thing. And so, shocker, I'm sure that you just can't believe what I went with here. And these are kind of phase three colors. And I really did like the phase three, but it's still, I'm still not entirely happy with where this ended up. I think it's better. It's better than that. It's just, I think we can all agree it's just better than that. But it's still, I don't know. It's okay. It's okay. It's solid. Looks better than that. So to kind of recap, go right back through these. So we started with the Max Thrill Solid, ended up with that. I think that looks fantastic, and actually that doesn't look that bad. It's just a little boring, I guess. I think that one. I think if they did this would sell like hotcakes. Like this looks sexy. I would if I was the company, I'd put that into production right now. This one, again, this looks good. This honestly does look good. I'm just not a fan of the yellow logo. I don't know what other color they would have gone with, but I don't, the yellow logo and the kind of the darkish purple, I just jazz it up a little bit. I think that just looks better to me. Entity, another, it just looks like another another B7 ball that it's kind of like, okay, well just make it orange and purple again. And we still have the purple in there, but this just looks cool. It doesn't necessarily, I mean, this doesn't really look like an ebonite ball, I guess. I don't know what an ebonite ball is supposed to look like, but this reminds me of just like a something from a different company, really, for whatever reason. Deviate ball. Criterion Hybrid, again, it's not, I think that this one would look a lot better if this gold was either toned down, wasn't quite so yellow, or was just a different color entirely. But I really, I like the look of this. I think again it bridges the original Criterion to the inverse and makes them kind of all fit together better. Arctic Vibe, again, kind of a cool look. I don't hate it. I just think this looks better. I think this reminds me more of Arctic. Again, which is the uglier ball here? It's difficult. Not well, wrong one. Which is the uglier ball here? It's a toss up, but I do really like where we ended up with here. That just looks that pops. That looks really good. I really like that. The Rally, cool looking ball. I wish if they would have gone with the kind of flat blue, if they would have gone with a little bit darker blue or something like that. It just the blue is what does. I really like the silver. I really like the green. The blue for me just is what kind of throws it off. And again, you know, this I think this looks really sweet too, but I don't know. I would agree to disagree there. I think they both look good, honestly. Heckler, again, this is the one that God, it's just another just par for the course. They've had several balls that have looked like this. I'm over it. And then this looks again. You can tell that I really, I really pushed the needle on the saturation. I just maxed out saturation. But again, like I said, it kind of hits the glow bowling, the glow in the dark kind of cosmic thing the glow in the dark thing that they used to do. Again, a lot of people don't like this. I think I probably like this better than a whole lot of other people do. But I think if that's the ball they put out, it would have been a completely different story. I think that unfortunately with this kind of they went for it, and I really appreciate the effort. And I'm just a big fan of this one. I'm not going to shut up about this one, but gosh, if that would have been what they went with instead of this, I think we'd have a little bit different story. And again, this is not bad, not bad. That's weird. Um, you know, So again, agree to disagree, kind of indifferent, just a different, just you went with something different, kind of opposite of what we already had. So, and then this is a sharp looking ball. It just is. Roto's got a lot of sharp looking stuff. And this is just kind of okay, let's make an alternate just for the crap of it. this needed help, though. This definitely needed help, and I'm not sure if that's the help that it needed, but you know, that's what I got. So yes, we literally just sat here and talked for 20 minutes about bowling ball colors because it is something. I mean, people, as the camera tries to make the brightness thing work out. But anyway, this is just one of those things where the look looks matter. I mean, they really do matter when you look at something and you think, "Gosh, it's like, I'm not terribly interested in that," and then you see something different. It's like, again, if you walk in and you see that on the wall, it's like, whatever. But if you see that on the wall, all of a sudden, I think you at least go pick it up. So anyway, yes, this was completely frivolous, non-informational, off the beaten path, completely worthless video just for the fun of it. So thank you. And the one that I already filmed before was even longer and even worse. So anyway, thanks y'all for hanging out. Good luck and good bowling. May the strikes be with you.